Hi, this is Hamada Zahawi, founder and CEO of Right Track Admissions, a global admissions consulting company. Now, if you haven't been to our channel before, get ready for an unfiltered account of exactly how to get into your top choice program, how to secure funding, and how to succeed both as a student and as a professional. And if you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe by hitting the big red button below, as well as connect with us on our social media handles, conveniently located below this video. So what are we going to talk about today? Today, we're going to continue our college interview prep series by speaking with Sema Kuba, our college admissions expert and also at the Harvard College. She aced her interview, and she's going to give you all the tips, tricks, and hacks so that you too can ace your interview and get on the right track to success. Thank you for joining us today, Sema. So tell me, how do you prepare for the college interview?
Great question, Hamada. I was always told that you just can't prepare and you just have to go in how you are. But I wanted to say that there are certain things that you can do to prepare yourself so that you can really allow the best qualities of your personality to shine through at the interview. One thing that I'll go ahead and say is prep a resume, because it's actually very helpful for your interviewer to have a resume on hand. They sometimes use it just to gain a better understanding of you. Other times they actually take notes right on it. So have that prepped in a little folder to be able to give to them. And one thing I'll also mention about the resume, have a couple copies on hand just in case, because there's been certain scenarios where I've accidentally ruined one of my copies and didn't have a backup, and I wish I had. So learn from that mistake of mine. Another thing that you can do is, dress professionally, have some good clothes ready, bring some water with you, just do what you can to make yourself comfortable so that, because you're going to be nervous, and those little things will help you just feel a lot more self-assured. Also, I wanted to mention that, look over what you submitted to each college, because again, your interview is part of a package. So look over what you've submitted, what you put as your top activities, what you put as your top awards, and be prepared to kind of talk a little bit about those. I think that you can go ahead, organize yourself in your brain. What do these activities say about you, and how do you want to come across during the interview?
So what should you not say and not do on the college interview?
So this is funny because I just mentioned, have a resume ready, but do not make your interview an overview of your resume. I did that so many times, and I could see the interviewer just losing interest, looking elsewhere. Because you're giving them your resume, they can read all about what they want on your resume. But I will say that more and more, especially Ivy Leagues, more and more colleges are looking for students who really have a depth of passion in a particular manner. So whether it's, I have friends who are telling me about how they spent a full hour just talking about how they loved learning Korean. One of my friends spent 3 hours actually with her interviewer just talking about neuroscience. So they picked one or two things that they were really, really passionate about, and they went in depth with it. And I started to see that that's a common trend here, at least at Harvard. It's a common trend with successful interviews. Meanwhile, in some of my previous interviews before I got to my Harvard interview, I was still inexperienced, and I just talked about every single thing on my resume. And I just realized that that wasn't really the point of the interview. They're there to really learn about who you are. And that me giving a resume overview was not getting that job done.
So what are your top 3 things that you must do on a college interview?
So my first tip would be, first and foremost, listen, it's not necessarily what exactly you have to say. It's how you say it. There is no right thing for you to bring up during the interview, because you are, you. And so one thing that I'll go ahead and say is just whatever you talk about it with a passion. Make it clear to your interviewer that this is something that, this is something that gets you up every morning. This is something that drives your life and drives your passion to work hard every day. Really communicate the passion that you have for what you do. Number 2, bring up the actual academics of the institution, because whatever you do, the college is going to want to know why us out of all the other colleges. For example, in my Harvard interview, I love the Harvard Kennedy School for Government. In addition to just the Harvard College and what they have to offer, there's a really close partnership with the Kennedy School, and I talked a lot about that. And so that was actually something that was reflected in my admissions file. Oh, she's done her research. She really is interested in this particular area that will give her opportunities here at our institution. So look up the academics and know what you're talking about there. The third thing that I'll go ahead and mention about like the importance of an interview, I just mentioned talking about something you're really passionate about. Talk a little bit, build on that by talking about, what exactly you had to overcome, what exactly you learned from that process. So they're really trying to pick up on personality traits during these interviews. That's the whole point. It's like, who are you? Who are you as a person? And being able to talk about not just what you do, but what you learned from it. Talk about mentorship experiences and what you learned from mentors. That's a big one, by the way. Like, it really shows that you're humble, for example. It shows that you're willing to learn, you're adaptable. So really try to hone in on like I call it the follow through. Don't just talk about something, but talk about how it affected you. And that'll really help make your application, more humanized.
What about follow-up? How do you follow up with the interviewer?
I wish I had something like this video to have told me this, because I didn't follow through for the first couple. It was actually really odd because then the interviewer followed up with me. And then I realized, like, oh no, I should have followed up myself. So I will say, like, after an interview, take a moment to send an email, or let them know, thank them for their time, because they're taking time out of their day to be able to speak with you. And they took the time out of their day to really do this. So thank them for that. Show your appreciation, show that you're grateful. Probably mention something about the actual discussion. Maybe they brought up an aspect about their life to throw into the conversation. Mention that, show that you paid attention and that you listened to what they had to say. And really just I would really just say the number one thing is express your gratitude, because we really have to realize that people who do interviews, like, it's definitely time out of their busy lives. So definitely come across in that way. In terms of timeline with the follow through, I think it's usually best if you email within 24 hours is probably like my best advice, to go ahead and reach out to your interviewer to thank them.
So what's your reality check?
I think the biggest reality check that I at least had about interviews is what actually mattered to them. I had the opportunity to read my admissions file, right? And I thought that, like, all these activities that I do, I thought that debate would be like the best thing to bring up at my interview. But they actually, after reading my file, the most important things that came across were actually like the things that I've come across in my life and how I overcame obstacles and what that showed about me. So when I gave you guys that piece of advice earlier, that was very much because of my own reality check as to what mattered in the interview. And so really with this interview, take a moment to talk a little bit about, be open, be honest about your personal life. That's a huge reality check, and just don't try to create like a picture. And when people say like, be yourself, they really mean like, talk about your story, be honest about who you are, and allow the admissions committee to kind of see, what have you overcome in your life and what potential you have.
Thank you so much, Summer, for all your wisdom and insights into the college interview process. If you guys have any questions for us, please post them below. We'll do our best to provide you with further insights. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe by hitting the big red button below. And as always, please stay sane, stay safe, and stay connected.